Now, considering just how many Star Wars games there are and how many of them I've played in my life, which is a good portion, if not most of them, it's no small compliment for me to say that I think Jedi Survivor is easily one of the best ever, and maybe the best ever, though that may just be recency bias talking, and in all reality, the first Knights of the Old Republic is probably still top of my list, though in reverse, that may just be nostalgia talking. Either way, best ever or one of the best ever, I don't give that praise to Jedi Survivor lightly or just because it's an incredibly fun game to play with plenty to do and explore in because it has absolutely amazing graphics. Nor do I give it that praise because of the fantastic story it tells, one that touches on many, if not pretty much all, the core themes of Star Wars in a profound way, and that few other Star Wars stories, across any medium, ever have before, themes like family, attachments, and selfishness versus selflessness. But rather, I give it that praise because of the more personal way it allows you to not only experience those core themes, but how it allows you to truly understand or feel them, because you're literally playing as the main character of the story, and assuming you're truly getting into that story, you're essentially experiencing that same sort of pull between the dark and the light that Cal himself is. Your emotions are probably running as wild and unchecked as Cal's are as you play through this roller coaster of a story with all its twists, turns, and loops. And speaking of that story, though it should probably go without saying here, there's going to be some major spoilers for it coming up, so if you maybe aren't done with the game yet or haven't been able to play it yet for whatever reason, which you should if you're able, do be warned, big things are about to be ruined for you, though this technically isn't going to be a discussion of the story itself so much, perhaps that'll be another video. Anyway, all that said, I think the most impressive thing that the game does, and mind you, it does a lot of things impressively, is how it allows you to understand the dangers of the dark side and how easy it is to fall to it, which I think is something that a lot of fans, I wouldn't say struggle to understand exactly, but I think fail to realize just how easy it is to lose yourself to it. There's a reason why Yoda says this to Luke in The Empire Strikes Back.
If once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. Consume you it will, as it did Obi-Wan's apprentice.
And like many things Yoda says, he's not exactly being literal here. He's not saying it's absolutely impossible to ever come back from the dark side. Heck, there's now been many examples or many characters doing it in Star Wars, including the most famous of them all, that being Anakin Skywalker, who came back after being one of the most evil guys in the history of the galaxy. Instead, what Yoda's actually saying here is that the dark side is like an addiction. It's easy to get hooked and have your life kind of spiral out of control on you, but it's oh so hard to overcome or stop using it, and as any recovering addict will likely tell you, the temptation never ever truly goes away, and it's easy to slip back into old habits if you're not always vigilant. It is a battle you will fight for the rest of your life, and so, in a way, any addiction, even one you've overcome, be that drugs or the dark side itself, it still dominates your destiny. Which takes us back to Cal Kestis in Jedi Survivor and how and why he starts to use the dark side. Which is because he eventually gives into his anger, his frustration, and his hate. He wants Bode to pay for his betrayal for killing Cordova, who, if you're like me, you kind of assumed he was already dead, that you were in a sense following his ghost in the first game in Fallen Order, and it's a surprise to be sure to see him alive and well in this one, or at least until Bode kills him. But of course you're even more angry at Bode because his betrayal directly leads to the death of Seer. He led the Empire to the hidden base where she makes a valiant last stand against Darth Vader, but eventually falls to him. And when this all happens, not only does it obviously have quite the impact on the character of Cal Kestis, but again, since you're playing him, sharing this adventure with him, you, the player, also takes it a bit personally because you've been literally working with Bode. He's been helping you on missions, and you've likely come to like him and care about him. He's pretty charismatic, and you especially probably care about him because he seems to be doing everything for his daughter. He seems like a really good, noble guy, and honestly, I never saw his betrayal coming. It caught me as off guard as it probably did Cal. And so when you later catch up with Bode on the Imperial base, after the first time you catch up with him and are pretty much left for dead, and it looks like he's going to get away from you yet again after you have this little chat with him in front of his daughter about why he did it, you're frustrated and you just want to catch him, which is when a prompt comes up to simply press some buttons and use the dark side, which I think is oh so fitting that it's that simple to embrace it, that all you have to do is hit a button and you'll be more powerful than you could possibly imagine. Though if you're anything like me and for whatever reason you want to be a good little Jedi, you don't want to use the dark side out of principle. You may hesitate a bit before pressing in those buttons, wondering if there's another option that'll come up or if I can just kind of wait this thing out. Eventually though, impatience wins out and yeah, you press the buttons and proceed to absolutely obliterate a huge wave of Imperials, which is quite fun, you gotta admit. But then after a few seconds it runs out and you, or at least I, tell yourself you're done with that. You're not hitting those buttons again despite how fast the meter seems to fill up and how simple using the dark side made things for you. How easy it is to defeat your enemies and to potentially catch up with Bode for the next part of the story and to, have a chance to talk with him some more. And then you come upon another large wave of Imperials, and again, I hesitate to use the dark side once more and instead try to kill them the old-fashioned way. But there's so many, and soon enough you're using up all your stims and you're getting frustrated or are simply going to die, so you justify pressing in the buttons, or technically the control sticks, because you don't want to have to go through or play through all of this again, and then you proceed to destroy the wave you were just struggling with moments ago. Before you then see another wave coming, and this time there's less hesitation, if any at all, and you press in the sticks and annihilate another wave of Imperials who deserve it and who stand in the way of what you're after. They stand in the way of you getting your vengeance on Bode. And before you know it, you've gone from hesitating to use it at all to wondering why the meter isn't filling up even faster. Why do I gotta start this next wave without my dark side powers? And now you're angry that you have to waste time doing it the old-fashioned way. You suddenly feel weak, and the very instant the meter is full, you press in those buttons and gleefully dispatch your enemies. Or at least that was basically my experience playing the game, and when it was all said and done, these words of Yoda came to mind.
Is the dark side stronger?
No. But easier, more seductive.
And though I'd always understood what he was trying to tell Luke in that moment, now I'd essentially experienced it. I mean, sure, it's just a video game, right? I wasn't experiencing the very same emotions, or should I say the same intensity as Cal was, but it still showed how easy it is to pick the quick path to power. How easy it is to not only lose yourself to the dark side, but to justify using it. And how hard it is to pull yourself away from it. And so at the end of the game, we're unsure if Cal has truly done that, if he's truly freed himself from the dark side or not. We're not really sure what to think anymore about him even. Everything feels completely different with him now, and you worry about his future because you truly do feel like you understood why and how he fell. You can even justify his actions, despite the fact you can also understand Bode and his actions. You can't help but feel like it would be easy to go back to that, to using the dark side and to, again, justify it. And for that reason, though not that reason alone exactly, Jedi Survivor is indeed one of the greatest Star Wars games of all time, because it really makes you feel like you are a part of Star Wars. Well, that's all I've got for you this time. Now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell me if your experience playing it was anything like mine, or if you want me to do even more videos talking about Jedi Survivor. There are a lot of great things to discuss about it. Either way, do leave those comments below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.